Om Shanti. Today in the Murli, Baba says, as soon as falsehood becomes mixed with the truth, your happiness disappears. So, Baba today says that truth and happiness go together. And when there is falsehood, we believe in something that's not true, then the happiness disappears. And right now, we are filling our awareness with truth, of course, but then there are many, traces of falsehood inside us. And this is why when they come up, happiness disappears. And today's Murli, when I read it over and over again, there was this one thought that kept coming to me again and again. So you see that the truth is, the existence of a soul is completely independent of the drama. Yes, we don't, so I, the soul, don't exist in relation to the drama or in relation to the events that are taking place or in relation to the people who are around me or how they are behaving. Basically, my existence is completely independent of whatever is happening around me. But there is this falsehood inside us, and we are so trained to look at our existence vis-a-vis everything else that our happiness disappears all the time. Yes, so I was just thinking very deeply about this one thing today. So, even when we talk about, let's say we come to Gyan, and in the basic lessons, somebody tells us, you be peaceful. So we want to be peaceful vis-a-vis the surrounding or vis-a-vis the behaviors. Yes, so whenever this question of peace comes, then people will say, okay, so how can I be peaceful when the other one is behaving like this, or there is a financial crisis, or there is a legal issue at hand. So how can I be peaceful in such a situation? But what we don't understand is, I being peaceful or not peaceful has got nothing to do with what's happening in the external. Because my thoughts, my feelings are my creation. Yes, and when we start, we feel this compulsive need to view ourselves or perceive ourselves in the context we are operating. Do you feel that compulsive need to view yourself or perceive yourself in the context you're operating? Because we kind of define ourselves like that. Our whole identity is based on what we have, who we are with, and what we do, right? So our whole identity is defined that way. So when we define ourselves like that, when we identify so deeply and strongly with the people we live with, or the surroundings we operate in, or the work we do, or the body we have, then it becomes very difficult to look at peace independent of all of this, or happiness independent of all of this. But Baba says the truth is, you are independent of all of that. So is your peace, so is your happiness. Yes, so when we start seeing ourselves in the true light, and we start seeing ourselves as we are, then happiness doesn't look like a very difficult thing to achieve, because happiness is aligned with the truth. So it's the truth that we need to imbibe. Happiness follows. Am I able to communicate what I want to? Yes, so basically when you are with the truth, and the truth is that you are a soul, then a soul is happy. But when you think you are a body, or you are a mother or a father or a child or a daughter or a son, then your happiness is bound to be dependent on all those factors. So this is why Baba says, whenever there is a mixture in the truth, some falsehood starts getting mixed up with the truth, then the happiness disappears. Yes, so what we need to do is, instead of, this is why, when you come to Brahma Kumaris and you say, I want to be happy and I want to be peaceful, then Baba doesn't say, okay, you do this or do that. Baba says, just know you are a soul, you are the child of Baba, and this is your basic quality, because it is that falsehood that is taking us away from happiness. So the more and more we start aligning ourselves with the truth, and in your morning meditation, when you just sit and reflect on how Baba is just a point, and in that being as a point, he is an ocean of peace, and he is the epitome of stillness, peace, and silence, then you start thinking about yourself like that, and you are also a small, tiny point that is completely still, peaceful, and silent. So Baba says, if you just keep aligning yourself with the truth, then the falsehood starts disappearing. Again, that example of the darkness and light comes in, and you cannot take away the falsehood. You have to just light the lamp of truth. So once you start igniting that lamp of truth inside, once you start pouring that oil of knowledge and yoga into it, and that flame starts getting lit up, then all the darkness of unhappiness starts disappearing. So this is something that Baba tells very sweetly and softly, but very profoundly today in the Murli. And then today Baba also talks about non-violence. So, also Gandhi Jayanti went, and we always have this talk about non-violence. But what is non-violence? So people say that not being violent towards others is non-violence. And mostly when we talk about non-violence, we don't take into account verbal violence. So mostly, how you hurt somebody with words is not considered to be violence in the world. And I will tell you one story. So there is this example about violence with words, and so we understand that violence can be done with drishti also, but we'll look at those things and like later on. But about this violent acts with words. So once, there was this brother, and he was not in Gyan, and he just talked very roughly to the person working for him. So he had a servant, and he talked very roughly to that servant. And then there was this sister who was in and around that scene, and she told him that this is not the right thing to do, and he should speak softly and sweetly like Baba tells us to. And then this brother said that, okay, so let me go and tell sorry to that brother. So now the sister said, okay, you can say sorry, but just understand one thing. So what's that one thing? So she told him to bring a piece of paper. So there was this paper he brought to the sister, and then the sister tore that paper to very tiny pieces, and then she blew it off, and then she said, now you go and collect those pieces and make it whole again. So that brother said, no, that's very difficult. So the sister said, it is as difficult to mend a heart broken through verbal violence as it is to put a piece of paper which is torn back. Okay, so this is how much we can shatter a soul's swaman by the way we talk. So, that is one form of violence that Baba talks about. But again, about this thing that we always try to understand Gyan in reference to the other. Yes, but Gyan begins and ends with the self, I think, and everything else we do is based on who we are. So we do as we are, we speak as we are, we think as we are. So basically, who we are is very important. And so the first place where we should apply every point of knowledge is to the self. Now, regarding the self, Baba says, what is non-violence when you understand it in the context of the self? So in the context of the self, whenever you think a thought or whenever you don't take care enough to stay in your Sato Pradhan consciousness and you come down from that consciousness, then that's an act of violence. Okay, so when you don't take care to stay in your elevated stage and you do things that that eventually result in you coming down from your Sato Pradhan stage, that's an act of violence. Okay, so what is it that you do during the day to come down from your Sato Pradhan stage? You have to check. And here I will also mention that there are mainly when it comes to sin, we talk about three things. So first thing is doing what you're not supposed to do. Yes. Second thing is not doing what you're supposed to do. And the third thing is taking sorrow. So when you do something that you're not supposed to do, which includes, what does it include? It includes impure food, impure drishti, looking at bodies, looking at objects, getting attached to or getting drawn towards physical appearances, all of that. And then again, celibacy that Baba talks about. So when we engage in impure thought, word and action, that pulls us down from our Sato Pradhan stage. That's there. But then another very important thing is when you don't do what you need to do. So you see, we live in Kali Yuga. Now, if you live in a noisy world, you take care that you live in a house which has doors and windows in place. Yes, if there is no door, no window, and you don't take care that they are in place, then obviously everything will come barging in and it is going to destroy your peace. So Baba says that we live in a world which is Kali Yuga. So obviously everything outside is very low energy. And if we want to maintain our Sato Pradhan stage, that's not going to happen without any effort. Do you recognize that? Yes, if we don't get up and fill ourselves with elevated thoughts and elevated remembrance of Baba's virtues and Baba's knowledge early in the morning, we don't do our morning meditation, we don't listen to Baba's versions based on truth, then obviously we are not doing the needful to stay in our Sato Pradhan stage. If we don't pay attention to purity or not pay attention to using our mind, body and wealth for good karma, then obviously we are not paying attention to being stable in our Sato Pradhan stage. And then taking sorrow. So do you Do you keep looking for opportunities to take sorrow? Because most people keep doing that. So, now I'm sorrowful because of this, and the next moment I'm sorrowful because of that, and then I'm in complaint mode because of the other, and then I'm in complaint mode because of the fourth thing. So if you don't close your doors and windows of the heart to this give and take of sorrow, then obviously our Sato Pradhan stage cannot be in place. So Baba says the biggest act of violence is to not take care to stay in your Sato Pradhan stage. And when you don't take care of that, then obviously what we will do is we will come down from our elevated stage, and then all our thoughts, words, and actions will be less than elevated. And when we are in sorrow, when we are less than who we are, then obviously we will not be able to see the other person as they are or the events as they are. We will also see them as less than what they are. So this is an act of violence. So let me read that out to you. Baba says, constantly remain stable with your Sato Pradhan sanskars and experience peace and happiness. This is true non-violence. Violence means anything through which you experience sorrow and peacelessness. What does violence mean? Violence doesn't mean anything through which the other feels sorrow and peacelessness. The true definition of violence is when you feel sorrow and peacelessness, that's an act of violence. And you will feel as you act. And if I am not in complete peace and happiness, then I have to check what acts of violence do I perform all day. And whatever you do in the privacy of your mind or whatever you do in your mind space is going to have an effect on your feelings. So if it is pulling you down from your stage of peacelessness and peace and happiness, then it is an act of violence. Okay. So have you seen that you lose your peace and happiness whenever you do something against your own nature? Yes, let's take something very, very simple, like talking more than necessary. Okay, Baba says, kam bolo, dhire bolo, meetha bolo. Yes, speak less, speak softly, and speak sweetly. And the moment you don't follow that, you lose your peace and happiness. Have you seen that? Yes, you go back to what you spoke, and then it makes you feel miserable. So Baba says, and obviously when it is taking away your peace and happiness, it is not giving peace and happiness to the other. Something that you are doing, that which is taking away your own peace and happiness, can never give peace and happiness to another one. So Baba says, take very good care of staying in your Sato Pradhan stage and experience peace and happiness. So when you operate from your elevated stage, then whatever you think, whatever you speak, and whatever you do will give you peace and happiness. And when it is not giving you that, then you must know that there is something wrong with what you're doing. And Baba says that violence means anything through which you experience sorrow and peacelessness. So check. Throughout the day, do I commit any type of violence? If you make someone's stage fluctuate with your words, that too is violence. Yes, and Baba has said that our words should elevate someone, encourage someone, fill them with zeal and enthusiasm, fill them with swaman. And if my words are making someone's stage fluctuate, they are not being, so when is the stage shaky? When they are not in swaman. So Baba says, if you are pulling down someone from their swaman, then that's an act of violence. Yes, and if you look at the soul, you will never speak those words. You look at their actions, you look at the body, you look at everything else, then you are able to speak those words. And until you are body conscious, you cannot speak that language. So first you have pulled yourself down from that stage of elevated consciousness, and then this act of violence has taken place. Then the second point is, if you are suppressing your satopradhan sanskars and putting other sanskars in a practical form, that is also violence. This is violence that you do to yourself. Therefore, become refined. Now, Baba says, I will not talk about not beating somebody up or not scolding somebody, because that's not what Baba's children do. So this is, Baba says, now I'm giving you very refined knowledge to check where you're going wrong. So Baba says, become refined and have the awareness of being a great soul and doubly non-violent. So Baba says, remember, I'm a great soul, I'm doubly non-violent, I do not perform any act of violence against myself or against the other. And then today in the Murli, Baba says something very, very interesting. Baba says, people ask how the incorporeal one can speak. They don't know how the incorporeal one comes. They call him the purifier. He is the ocean of knowledge, the living being, and also the ocean of love. Love doesn't take place through inspiration. Underline this. Love doesn't take place through inspiration. In Hindi, inspiration is called prerna. प्रेरणा से प्यार नहीं कर सकते. I cannot love you through thinking. I thought lovingly about you. So love is a very practical act. Baba says, love doesn't take place through inspiration. He enters this one and gives you children love. And this is why you say you go into the lap of the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul. Baba, I eat with you, I listen to you, your intellects go to Him. So, even God, He comes and He expresses His love in a very physical way. So, He sits with us, eats with us, talks to us. And when we say love, then love in the heart has to manifest as love in action. Yes, and why I'm mentioning this, why I'm pointing this line out today is, I want to share one experience with you. So, there is this sister and she said that, Didi, I'm very fond of onions. So I like onion in my food. Now, Baba, I have love for Baba in my heart, but then can I not eat onions if I have love for Baba in my heart? Okay, then I asked her, so do you usually cook that which your children love at home or that which you love? So she said, Didi, my children don't eat bhindi, lady's finger, and for years together I have not cooked bhindi at home. Yes, because children don't love that. And I said, what about you? She said, I love bhindi. So I said, then why don't you cook it? So she said, you see, Didi, children don't like it, and then I can't force them to eat. So I said, you see, when it comes to children, your love is very practical. Yes, they don't eat bhindi, you don't cook bhindi. But Baba doesn't accept onion, you want to eat onion, because for Baba, your love is theoretical, not practical. So, when we ask questions in Gyan, like, should we do this or should we not do that? So even about this, sitting in class without taking a bath, or without, sometimes, in today's Thursday, but I'm not even talking about Thursday, Sadguruvar, of course, some children pay attention to wear clean clothes or take a bath. Just think about it. Somebody is visiting you. Will you just sit like that, not having taken a bath, not brushed your teeth? Will you meet somebody like that? Will you meet even a patit human like that? No, you are wary that they will not like the way you are stenching, and they will not like the way you look. So Baba says, this is very practical, love for Baba. And then you see, who is Baba? Baba is the highest on high. And when you have that Baba in front of you, nobody has to teach you how to express your love for him. If you really understand Baba practically, and you take Baba to be practically in front of you. And you see, Baba does everything practically. Baba is talking to us practically, giving us knowledge practically, giving us love practically. Baba doesn't say bitter children and say, I meant very sweet children. Baba says sweet children. If he means sweet children, he says sweet children. So Baba does everything very practically. Baba's peace is practical. Baba doesn't shout and say, I'm peaceful inside. Yes, Baba doesn't complain and compare and then say, I think you are all equal, but then this is necessary. No, Baba behaves as he is. Yes, and Baba doesn't compare, doesn't complain. Baba speaks so softly. You should listen to Baba speak when Bab Dada comes, because I have not seen when Baba spoke through Brahma Baba, but I have seen when Baba spoke through Dadi Gulzar's body, and the words he uses are so loveful, the way he speaks them is so peaceful and pure. And so Baba says, I do everything practically. And love is a very practical thing. You love somebody, there is a practical expression of it. If you don't care for their well-being, or you don't support their needs, then can you claim that you love that one? Yes, so you have to understand that love for Baba is practical, and Baba is one with his task and his aim. Baba's yajna, Baba's task of bringing Satyug to earth, all this is all connected. And love has to be very, very practically expressed. Otherwise, it's not love. Yes, so, and I also here want to draw the distinction, or what differentiates Baba's love from human love. So, there is this sister, and she always says, I have this habit that I feel like hugging people I love. So, I am very touchy and feely, and I just want to, hug people I love. So, I told her, so you who can you hug? Please, let's sit and think about it. You can't hug the soul. The soul is beyond touch. You can hug the body. So do you love the body or the soul? So she said, Didi, now we understand it's the soul in the body. So I said, even if you go and just hold them so tight that they suffocate, you're not going to touch the soul. So the soul is beyond touch. So don't try to do that. If you try very hard also, you can't hug the soul. So Baba's love is for the soul. That is why Baba doesn't say you go, and Baba's respect is for the soul. Baba's love is for the soul. Baba's care is for the soul. Baba's thought of well-being is for the soul. So this is why you see that the expression of love is very practical and very different in the yajna. So you can touch the soul through drishti. Do you know that? When you give drishti, you can actually send that message of love to the soul. So this is why when you love Baba, you take drishti. When Baba loves you, Baba gives drishti. So Baba just looks at you lovingly and penetrates into your heart. And I remember there is this brother, he's a very senior brother in the yajna, and he said that when Baba gave me drishti for the first time, I felt like something very deep, deep, deep inside me had been touched and cleansed. And that's how you can touch the soul. You can't touch the soul through by hugging them or by touching them, but you can touch the soul through drishti. Now practically Baba does that. Baba doesn't say, okay, I love you, so I love the soul, so there is no practical expression of that. Yes? And then when you eat food, pure food, then the soul gets the bhasna. Yes, and sometimes in normal day-to-day Kaliyugi language also we say that Atma tript ho gayi. So you have a good meal and then you say the soul is quenched. And the soul doesn't get quenched with the masala you put in it or the oil you put in it, but the vibration that you put in it touches the soul. That's why when you eat high vibration food, then it quenches the soul. So Baba says, I love you, so I make arrangement to feed the soul through food. Feed the soul through drishti. Feed the soul through atmosphere. The atmosphere you create touches the soul. If the atmosphere is not filled with love and peace and vibrations of purity, then the soul feels it. The soul feels comfortable or uncomfortable based on the atmosphere. So Baba says, I care for the soul and I give the soul the atmosphere, the knowledge, the food cooked in Baba's remembrance, the drishti that the soul needs. These are very practical expressions of Baba's love. And what does the soul need more than this? The soul needs knowledge, because the soul needs to know the truth. The soul needs a pure vibration, and Baba creates all of that. Baba gives knowledge, Baba gives a pure vibration. So Baba says, when you also say that I love Baba, then you have to do as Baba does. Yes, and also take care that you create the atmosphere, you take care that the words you speak, the drishti through you see, all that serves the purpose that Baba stands for. Okay, so Baba is giving us practical love, and the return of that love also has to be practical. And what is the return that Baba asks from children? Baba says, one thing is you become like me. Another thing is you create support for the yajna so that many others become like Baba. Okay, so these are two practical expressions of love for Baba. We cannot say that we want love practically, but we'll give love theoretically. So just by nodding our head in the class, we have expressed our love. No, love has very practical expressions. We have to do seva. If we don't do any seva, then that's not love. And seva starts with making ourselves pure and then supporting the yajna, which is working very hard or, working very intensely to create a pure world. So this is about practical love today. And then Baba says about evil. So Baba says that, or rather, let's take up this point. This is very important. So Baba says, when you throw a stone into water, then it creates ripples. Yes? And Baba uses this metaphor and says that you throw a stone inside, and when somebody is in front of you, throw a stone there also, so that it creates ripples. And it is interesting that a diamond is a stone. A jewel is a stone, right? And jewels of knowledge it is said. Yes, so when you throw a stone or a jewel of knowledge, then it is going to create some ripples inside. And I remember this experience that one senior Didi shared, and she said that there were 3 children, 3 siblings, and their parents took them to the center. And now these 3 had to be kept silent. So, and sometimes we look at children as somebody, as someone who has to be kept quiet so that they don't disturb. Just, lock them up in a room or something so that they don't create a mess. But when they went to Baba, Baba put them under the charge of one very senior Dadi. And Baba told Dadi, you take these children and introduce them to Gyan. Now they are little children, 8 years, 6 years, 7 years, that kind of children. And Dadi took them to the other room, and Dadi told those children, you sit still and you keep thinking about 3 things. Who am I? Ask yourself this question. Who am I? Come up with an answer. Whatever answer. Your name, whatever comes to your mind. Who am I? Who do I belong to? Where have I come from? Okay? And this has to be continuous. Who am I? Then the answer. Who do I belong to? Then the answer. And where have I come from? And the answer. And if you get disturbed in middle, some sound comes, something you get distracted with by your eyes or something, you start the cycle once again. Again, you have to start with who am I? And then these children, they experience that it was so difficult to not get distracted because sometimes there was a sound, sometimes there was a sight, something or the other. And they could complete one cycle in 15 minutes. And they took it as a challenge. So they were very busy in that. Now, after that, when they received the answers to who you are, who you belong to, and where you've come from, they were very keen because they understood in that process that these are difficult questions. Because it was very difficult for them to come up with these answers. So now Baba says, this is an example of throwing a stone into water, and then the ripples, they are formed. And Baba says, you also do this to yourself. When you're sitting, ask yourself some question that is connected to the truth about you. Ask yourself some question that will take you to a place of knowledge and self-reflection. And when somebody comes and sits in front of you, do the same with them also. And this is the way you will start thinking about yourself rather than thinking about others. Because if you note, we never think about ourselves before we are in Gyan. We always think about others and ourselves in relation to them. It is always like that. Yes, that is why our existence is so fluctuating, you know. Our whole sense of self is founded on something that's very, very shaky. So Baba says, think about these questions which relate to your identity as an independent being. And then also encourage others to think in these lines by asking these questions. All right. Om Shanti. Now we'll offer bhog to Baba very lovingly. And today there are many Baba's children who have offered bhog for their own physical health or some issue that the bodies of their loved ones are going through. And so I'll take all those remembrances, and then there are 2 Baba's children who have birthdays, and then there is one who has an anniversary. So I'll take all their remembrances to Baba and we'll all go together, and you all also join me in that, and it'll take 1 minute. I'll direct you to bhog, to the place where bhog is offered. Om Shanti.